The reasons why I think on the internet, like, there's no reason to cut it to a 4-minute soundbite conversation. It's like, I think part of what makes it authentic is like, we can just, I mean, these are complex issues. We can unpack it for hours and probably still have hours more stuff to talk about. I don't know. I think it's just more real.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And the other thing about television that's always going to hold it back is the fact that every conversation gets interrupted every X amount of minutes because you have to cut to a commercial. So you really can't get into depth. Even Bill Maher's show is only an hour. You know, you have all these people talking over each other, then you sit down with one person for a short amount of time. It's just not enough time for important subjects. It's also, a lot of them, for whatever reason, want to do it in front of an audience, which is the worst way to get people to talk. Like, when you imagine these disasters that you had if there was like 5,000 people staring at you in a TV crowd as well. So there's that added element, which is so not normal and not conducive to having a conversation where you're talking about nuanced things.
Yeah.
Where you have to like think, you have to be able to pause and not concern yourself with being entertaining in front of these fucking people just sitting there staring at you.
Yeah, and also, like, when you're having a conversation, I don't know, it's like when you start talking about something, your kind of subconscious kicks in. You start thinking about the topic. So it's like you might not actually have the thing that you want to say until like 5 minutes later.
Right.
And I mean, it's like when we started this conversation, I think like the first few minutes were like just kind of slow. It's like warming up. Like I'm like, okay, kind of like downloading into my memory. Like how am I going to, like, you know, it's like, how am I going to, you know, just explain these different things. But it's, yeah, no, I just think that's sort of how people work.
What's also like, it's conversations are like a dance. You know, one person can't be dancing at another speed and the other person's going slow. Like, you kind of have to find the rhythm that you're going to talk with. And then you have to actually be interested in what you're talking about. That's another thing that they are at a huge disadvantage of in mainstream media. Is like, they're just doing that because that's their job. You know, they probably don't even know a lot about climate change. They probably don't really understand too much about what SpaceX is trying to accomplish, but they're just reporting on it.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, I'm sure there's... and a lot of the people I've met there, I think, are good people.
I'm sure
it's just a tough format.
It's
right?
a terrible format. Yeah, and the problem is they get locked into that format and no one trusts them. And then they leave and they go, yeah, but you were just lying to us about this, that, and the other thing. And now I'm supposed to believe you're one of the good guys. You're one of the straight shooters now.
Yeah.
Well, getting back to the original point, this is why I think, you know, it makes sense to me that the government didn't want you to succeed and to have the sort of unchecked power that they perceived social media to have. And I think one of the benefits that we have now of the Trump administration is that they have clearly felt the repercussions of a limited amount of free speech, of free speech limitations, censorship, government overreach. If anybody saw it, look, I don't know what the actual impact of the Hunter Biden laptop story would have been. I don't know. But there's many people that think it probably amounted to millions of votes overall in the country of people that were on the fence, the people that weren't sure who they're going to vote for. If they found out the Hunter Biden laptop was real, they're like, oh, this is fucking, the family's fucking crazy. And they would have voted for Trump. That's possibly real. And if that's possibly real, that could be defined as election interference. And all that stuff scares the shit out of me. That kind of stuff scares the shit out of me. When the government gets involved in what could be termed election interference, but through some weird loophole, it's legal. Whereas some
I don't think
interference...
that the pushing for social media companies to censor stuff was legal. I mean, it's like that's. Right. I mean, there's all this stuff about what, like, people talk about the First Amendment and okay, these tech platforms should offer free speech like the First Amendment. It's that, I think, is a philosophical principle. The First Amendment doesn't apply to companies in our content moderation. It's more of an American ethos about how we think that best dialogue is carried out. But the First Amendment does apply to the government. That's like the whole point, right? Is the government is not allowed to censor this stuff. So at some level, I do think that, you know, having people in the administration calling up the guys on our team and yelling at them and cursing and threatening repercussions if we don't take down things that are true is like, it's pretty bad.
It sounds illegal. I would love to hear it. I wish somebody recorded those conversations.
Well, I mean,
those would be
again, it's
great to listen to. Somebody could animate them, maybe Polytune.
A lot of the material is public. I mean, Jim Jordan led this whole investigation in Congress. I mean, it was basically, I think about this as like, what Elon did on the Twitter files when he took over that company. I think Jim Jordan basically did that for the rest of the industry with the congressional investigation that he did. And we just turned over like all of the documents and everything that we had to them, and they basically put together this report.